Okay. I'm going to be repeating the topic that same-sex adoption has a neutral effect on the adopted child. My advocate's secondary claims are that homosexual parents teach the children the same value as any other parent. The second is that gay couples are growing to be more socially accepted in modern times. And the third one is that same-sex parents have the capacity to fulfill both maternal and paternal goals. So we do know that is allowed in some states, but let's think about the post-adoption. How will the children or how will the child or children be raised? What kind of teaching will be instilled in them? And will the child or children be affected by having parents of the same sex? So my main claim would be that same-sex adoption has either a positive or a negative effect on the adopted child. So in response to my advocate's first secondary claim, she mentions that it's a myth that homosexual parents would raise gay children. Well, the general consensus does not lie in the fact that straight couples raise gay children, but rather that most feel that homosexual couples increase the likelihood of the children being gay or lesbian. Generally speaking, most heterosexual parents teach that homosexuality is not right, while homosexual parents teach that it's perfectly okay to be homosexual. So homosexual parents can potentially encourage their children to choose the homosexual lifestyle based on their own, and one cannot thoroughly prove that the values of the children and by the type of couple are the same. There's a quote by Jeffrey Santinover, he's a medical doctor, saying that social evidence shows that there are measurable effects that when children lack either a mother or father. The evidence is overwhelming. Mountains of evidence collected over decades show that children need both mothers and fathers. Another quote, exposure to both sexes is vitally important to the developmental needs of children because it helps them form their sexual identity. This is a quote from Catholic Education Network. So homosexual parents more openly express positivity about homosexuality to their children and promote gay and or lesbian lifestyle. So by these teachings, the cultural values cannot be the same across the board. In refutation to their second supporting claim, that gay couples are going to be more socially acceptable in modern times, my opponent stated that the child of the same-sex couple is not a target to bullies. There is no evidence given of child bullying rates, so the likelihood of the child of the homosexual parents will not be bullied or get any less bullied than a child of heterosexual parents. Homosexuality is not accepted in vast many social circles, especially in the sometimes myopic minds of children and teens. So these children are still likely to get bullied or teased today for having gay parents. And there have been several acts of disagreement with same-sex couples and same-sex parenting, whether it's acts of social discrimination, media censoring, or religious lockouts. According to Psychology Today, there was an act of dissent taking place in a grocery store in Arkansas when a U.S. Weekly magazine had Elton John, his partner, and their newborn son on the cover. I have a picture of that here. I'll it out for you. And I got that from Psychology Today, but basically this magazine hit the stores and the manager had a field day and thought it was inappropriate for public viewing. So he put this shield on it that said this family shield to protect young Harpers, or young Harper shoppers. Another act of rejection towards gay couples was reported on September 4th, 2011, when a gay couple was attacked after trying to attend a Christian church service in Tennessee. According to Eyewitness News, the couple was attacked by a pastor and deacons in the parking lot of the church. So to summarize this up, gay couples are still trying to fight for their rights in our society today. For the final supporting claim that the gay couples don't have a stable relationship is inaccurate. Point was made along the lines that a single parent can adopt two mother-father roles, why can't a gay couple do the same? Well, gay couples are identified as liking the same sex, and this does not mean a single parent takes on a mother or father role is identified as liking the same sex. Single parents adopt both roles because they simply have to. This does not change their sexual preference, nor does it change their gender identification. Here's a quote from Dr. Brian Stansky from Psychology Today. Across a 3-year follow-up period, same-sex couples not in civil unions were more likely to have ended their relationship than same-sex couples in civil unions or heterosexual married couples. A reason for same-sex couples appearing to have stable relationships is because it's actually more difficult to get a divorce than to get married. So this may have an effect on why they're still together. In conclusion, so after further investigation and research, the child is affected in some way by being adopted by a same-sex couple. Not every child is negatively affected, nor is every child positively affected by having homosexual parents, but the outcome of being adopted by gay parents is shown to have significant alterations and impacts to childhood, values, and sexual identity development on a child. Thank you.
All right, all the structural things are fine. Your transitions on the individual points are relatively easy to follow. I do think that you have one point where you basically, and you kind of come back to it at the end, are saying, well, it has either a positive or a negative, in essence trying to eliminate any grounds that the advocate could be standing on. I think you need to clarify the point that you're making, and that is that it does have an effect. It could be in either direction, but the argument that it has little or no effect is really the issue that is in dispute here, and the truth is that it's inevitably going to have an effect, and frequently it's going to be a negative effect, which is the examples that you are talking about. And so I think that that would be a little bit easier for people to follow the argument if you made that position early on. I like the fact that you cite evidence from authoritative sources on those particular points, and you do talk about some of the needs that kids have when it comes to their sexual identity, and you've got a good explanation on that second point here about all of those kinds of issues. There's some generic information about it also, but the idea here that the kids need to be exposed there in order to identify what their value system is, I thought that was made relatively clear. On the second point, when you're talking about the bullying issue, I'm not sure that what the evidence was that the advocate presented on the bullying issue. If their only argument was that, look, this is all relatively well accepted today and therefore we're not likely to get bullying, I think that you've got a really strong argument here suggesting that, in fact, there is likely to be rejection, and you give some good examples of how homosexuals continue to be rejected by a large portion of the population. The notion that bullying is going to result as a consequence of that may or may not be the case, but if the premise of the advocate's argument is only that homosexuality is so widely accepted that we don't have to worry about this anymore, then I think you've got a reasonable challenge on that particular point. And the last point, I think you've got an interesting piece of information here where you're arguing about the stability of the relationships and the impact that could potentially have on kids, but it feels like you've only got half an argument here. Like you're making the argument that there is, in fact, a little bit less stability, and as a consequence there's likely to be a negative consequence on the kids. I didn't hear the negative consequences on the kid part, and the part that suggests that there might be instability, it's very tentatively presented. I'm not sure that that's the inference that you're trying to make. That just seemed like that must be the point that you're trying to make there. Otherwise, I'm not sure why you're presenting that evidence in the first place. So if that is in fact the inference, then you need the second part to show that there is a consequence too, and that consequence is a negative one. All right, thank you.